Good morning and welcome to the webinar, The Missing Half, Why Women's Participation is Key to Democracy in the Eastern Partnership region. Did you know that in the Eastern Partnership region, women make up more than half the population, yet their voices are often left out of decision-making? That's why today's topic is so important. Countries with higher levels of gender equality tend to have better governance and stronger economies. So women's participation is not just a matter of fairness, it's key to building more inclusive democracies and prosperous societies. You will hear all about it from our remarkable panel today. My name is Helge, and I'm the coordinator of the Swedish Network for the Eastern Partnership at ForumCiv. Our network unites 37 Swedish organizations working across Eastern Europe, everything from democracy to climate action, and of course, advancing gender equality. This webinar organized in collaboration between the network members ForumCiv and Winnet Sweden is the first in the series on gender equality. So keep an eye out for more in the coming months. Just a quick note, today's event will run for 90 minutes. It's live streamed and recorded for later viewing as well. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for today's webinar, Anna Stenvinkel, the Secretary General of ForumCiv. Anna has long been committed to making sure civil society remains a powerful force for change, and she's an expert at sparking conversations that lead to real action. So with that, Anna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anne. What an introduction. I really hope I will be able to live up to that one. Warmly welcome everyone to this very important webinar where we will discuss this important topic. And I have the great pleasure to now present the different participants of who will speak on this topic. And we will start off quite soon with Christina Johannesson, who is the Sweden's ambassador for the EIP. We will also listen to Anna Aghadjanian, who is the ambassador of Armenia to Sweden. We have Patrik Svensson, who is ambassador of Sweden to Armenia. Lena Karlsson, who is the gender equality coordinator for the EIP and engineer. And Alina Subokovic, who is the head of the Nordic Ukraine Forum. And then we will have Rosanna Torstensson, who is the president of Winnet, Armenia. And she will also be assisted by Anna Aghadjanian, speaking about the situation of Armenia. So warmly welcome everyone to listen in to this webinar, and also, of course, to all of you participants. And we will start off by having an introduction from you, Christina. So I will give the floor to you now. Warmly welcome, Christina.
Thank you very much, Anna, Excellencies, esteemed participants, dear friends. It is a true pleasure for me to be joining you for this important meeting today. We have a lot of interesting speakers, and I'm very much looking forward to our discussion. Gender equality is a core value for the European Union and a fundamental human right. And as the Eastern Partnership Ambassador of Sweden, I'm very happy to see that gender equality is taking a more prominent place in the Eastern Partnership cooperation, the cooperation between the EU institutions, the EU member states, and the partner countries. Of course, and here I want to be clear, we're coming from a modest level of engagement, and that goes also for some of the EU member states. And also there are challenges in the partner countries. But there are more discussions today, and it is, I think there's a growing understanding that gender equality is about rights, but also about democracy, human rights, rule of law, and economic growth in our societies. And through the EU Gender Action Plan, we support the Eastern Partnership countries to promote gender equality through financing of programs targeting gender equality, We promote gender mainstreaming and responsible budgeting. There is a lot going on. And as the Swedish representative, I'm very, very happy to hear that the Swedish expert, Lena Karlsson, whom we will be listening to later today, is so much appreciated for her work within the European Commission. Lena Karlsson is a seconded expert to the European Commission, and she is really achieving very good results. So coming from a low level, I think there are progress, and there is, of course, a lot to be done already. I would also like to mention that since a little more than a year, there is a dedicated working group within the Eastern Partnership architecture, a working group for gender equality. And there we have representatives of all the 6 partner countries present at the meetings. Of course, Sweden has been working within the area of gender equality with practically all the Eastern Partnership countries for many, many years. And this is such a resource because we have these dedicated organizations in all our countries with great experience. And now it is all about bringing this up, this experience, the plans, the ideas to the political level. And that is where I see I can try to do my best in order to motivate my colleagues in the other EU member states, motivate the EU institutions to always include the topic of gender equality in our EU meetings. I will not take the floor too long because I know you want to listen to the other experts. Let me just say that a couple of weeks ago, I attended the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Summit in Vienna. And for the first time, there was a dedicated panel to gender equality with quite a crowd in the room. This panel was very skillfully moderated by the Armenian expert Noard Manasyan from the Women's Fund of Armenia. And I think we had quite a lot of good ideas, which we will definitely take further within the civil society network. And I now expect that the panel on gender equality will every year be included in the program of the annual forum. So, in fact, a lot is already done, but again, it cannot be stressed enough how important it is to bring up this topic to the political level. And that is what I am dedicated to do in my role as the Eastern Partnership Ambassador. And of course, today's meeting adds to the process of furthering the messaging and the experiences and stressing that gender equality is actually about human rights, economy, security, and democracy in the region. And that is what we are striving for. So thank you again for having me. Thank you for giving me the platform to say some introductory words, and I'm very much looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was very interesting, and we do look forward to hear more about the different ideas that came up in this panel and so on. And I will give you the word again. That we will come back to these very, very important questions, of course. But first, I would like to welcome now Ambassador Anna Aghadjanian. Oh, I'm so sorry about the pronunciation. I'm trying my very best here. What strategies is Armenia using to ensure gender equality and capacity building initiatives to strengthen women's participation in Armenia's democratic development? It would be very interesting to hear how you are working here. So the floor is yours now to talk about this, Anna.
Very much. Thank you. And thank you for this invitation. I'm very much looking forward to this discussion. I know some of the speakers. I'm sure this will be an excellent and very enlightening opportunity. I'm not very good at strategies and numbers. I just want to give you an overall picture, and then we can discuss more specific facts if interesting. But can I start with a little story? Back in 1990, I think, when I got transferred to the foreign ministry. We were a tiny, tiny foreign ministry. Obviously, at that time, Armenia was just building state structures and governance institutions. And the foreign ministry basically would take people who speak languages. That's how I got in, to be honest. We had a director of a department who was an Armenian diplomat who obviously had been working at the foreign ministry in Moscow, the Soviet foreign ministry. He was, I now understand, probably younger than I am today, but at that time he looked like a very seasoned diplomat. So his approach was, when he told me later that his approach when he first came, a few months before I entered, the Soviet type mentality. Diplomacy is for men. So he walks in, he says, there should be no women. 2 women in the European department get transferred to another department. So he works with 5 men. And then several months later, when my colleague and I got transferred from the president's office, he says, you know what, I was actually very happy to have women because I understood that in Armenia, and this is no offense to men, women are really hard workers and really strong personalities. This is something that should always be, I think, kept in mind when looking at the Armenian society, talking about Armenian society and trying to analyze the Armenian society. We do have strong women historically, when also you look at our queens or our participation of women. We just somehow prefer to be in the second line of defense, if I may say so. This may be good, may be bad. It is good in terms of we kind of know our strength, but it's also very bad because from outside you don't see that. And when we talk about empowerment of women, about the inclusion of women in the decision-making, about the strategies, we have to also keep in mind that we in Armenia, we have the right to vote and be elected since 1918. That's the first republic. And that there has, in our very first parliament, when Armenia had this brief period of independence between the Ottoman Empire and the Soviet Union, we had 3 women members of parliament. I don't think a lot of countries can boast that. That was seriously back in it was over 100 years ago, 1919, 1920. And then in the Soviet times, of course, there was quotas. So there was always women in the Supreme Soviet. And then after the independence, the quotas were removed. And now we have them de facto. It doesn't say it has a quota for women, but the law says that no more than 70% of the members of the National Assembly can represent the same gender. So it's de facto 30% quota for women. So it gradually increased, and I'm very happy that in today's parliament, women are about 40%. But I'm actually much happier that the largest number by age groups is among the women under 30. There, we have more women than men. And I work with some of those women. They are phenomenal. And Patrik also knows some of them. And yes, he would probably agree that they are a very pleasure to work with. We also have generations of very highly educated women. So the workforce is there. The opportunities are there. There is all kinds of strategies, National Action Plan on Gender Equality, National Action Plan on this, National Action Plan on that. The problem, as always, and as in many places, is the implementation. And then there is, I think, and probably my esteemed colleagues from the civil society would know this much better than I do. I think there is a disparity between capital, the city of Yerevan, and the rural areas, where the opportunities are less for all kinds of reasons. And my desire would be to focus also on women in the poorer rural areas, to have them included. Thanks to the introduction of quotas in the local self-governance, now the representation of women has increased from 10 to 30%, which is a good jump. But because of the overall situation, and you very well know, most of you, I suppose, that last year we had to Armenia welcomed over 100,000 refugees, forcibly displaced population of Nagorno-Karabakh. A lot of them are women. These women need employment. These women need empowerment. I know these people. They're hardworking people. But this is another problem that our society has to face, how to make sure that those women are included at all levels in the functioning of the Armenian society. We also have registered an interesting development over the past several years, because it's always been, how many women do we have as holding ministerial portfolios? 2. Who are those women? Minister of Education, Minister of Culture, Minister of Social Affairs at best. At some point, there was also a Minister of Diaspora. Today, very interestingly, and again, quite young women. So we have 4 members of cabinet out of 12. Of course, it's a Minister of Education and Culture. That is inevitable. But it's also a Minister of Justice. It is also the head of the Foreign Intelligence Service. It's also the Prosecutor General and the Ombudsperson, which is not a member of cabinet, but I just want to say that the Ombudsperson is also a woman, which is very important for bringing and mainstreaming the gender perspective into the democratic development and into the general functioning of the society. And one more thing, I just want to say 2 words about the Foreign Service, which I represent here. Those of you who know our embassy, that would be Christina and Patrik, you know that we have a gender misbalance here. We are a majority women embassy. It's a small embassy, but we are a majority women embassy. I cannot say that we are not representative of Armenia's Foreign Service today, because more than 50% in the Foreign Service at different levels are women. It's a different story that only 15% of the ambassadors are women. But that was increased. When I became ambassador 10 years ago, there was 2 of us. So it's not so bad. I'm hoping that whoever speaks in this seat 10 years from now will speak much less about problems, much more about the increase at every level. But I want to stop here, and I would love to take questions if there are any. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this very interesting information. And also thank you for also taking us back to the historical part of us and see the development you have with now having, for example, 40% in parliament and so on. Very, very interesting. I'm sure we will come back to that. But I will now warmly welcome Alina Subkovic to talk about how women are contributing to peace building and democratic development in Ukraine, despite all the challenges you have now, and what kind of transformations are taking place in their roles when you have this time that you have. So warmly welcome Alina to talk about this.
Good morning, everyone, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. Thank you very much for organizing this event. I think it's crucial, it's very important, and great that Sweden is leading it. My pleasure to participate, and I would like to focus indeed on the transformations that are happening, because indeed the large-scale invasion has fostered changes that were ongoing already in Ukraine, and the society have to adapt very promptly, very quickly, and due to the circumstances. And basically, seeing the large-scale invasion, and due to the situation when men had to become part of the armed forces, women in this case had to adapt to the new roles and new responsibilities. And first of all, civil society, leading the civil society organizations is one of the examples where the role of women is really crucial. We know that basically since the invasion, their role of horizontal networking was important. But there are so many women who became the leaders of the organizations, or many of them are actually are not sometimes aware that they are basically representing the civil society and doing a lot of stuff just because they think it is a very natural thing to mobilize and to do something during the big war. But if we look at the data, there are many successful cases when women have adapted to these new roles, like take their organization like Superhuman Center. They are based in Lviv, and they do with reconstruction, surgery, and rehabilitation for war victims. And it's led by Olga Rudneva. Or take another center for mental rehabilitation in Kyiv. It's led by Ksenia Voznitsa. And these are examples when many medics also in these organizations are female. Repower Project, which is the organization that bring Ukrainian military medics to Sweden for the mental rehabilitation. And so it's already 10 projects that they've done, 100 people that have participated in each round, also led by fantastic Ukrainian Katrina and Marina from Repower. But then it is also the transformation that's happening in the military, and military is of course, it's very crucial for this period of time. And as of 2024, there is up to 22% of women in the military forces. Important to mention that also their status and roles that they have in the military are different to what it was before the big-scale invasions. So they are now participating on the different levels, and we can see them in acquiring this newer field, which is crucial for Ukraine, drones. Then we can see that there is the increase of their presence on these roles, or medical personnel and logistics and many other positions. So it's up to 22%, and it's approximately 60,000 women who are in the military forces. But also there are many volunteers, like military volunteers. And here I would mention the military medics as the volunteers, because it's very crucial how many have gone through different courses, and how many have joined this on this voluntary basis. And especially it's a case for the occupied territories, because when Ukrainian volunteers and military medics were coming to the occupied territories, they had to help tremendously to the population there, and particularly to the women, because Russia uses rape as a weapon. And this is a big trauma, and this is a big issue, and it is a very stigmatized issue. So it was crucial that there are organized the chains of women who can help other women in this terrible situations. So supporting of such initiatives is also essential for the rehabilitation, the mental health of this women there. But returning back to the civil society and everyday life, since women had to acquire the new roles, it is also the increase of women in business and in female leadership. So it's in different spheres. We can see women entrepreneurs in retail, in technology, in agriculture, in manufacturing, in IT, and according to their recent reports, is approximately 30% of women that are running business. There have been the development of different grants for the startups, or for the opening of their newer entrepreneurships, and though some of them are dedicated particularly to the women. This is a good thing to help, because for the economy and for the maintaining and for sustainability, it's important that women continue acquiring this new knowledge and that they can have the possibility to open and develop their projects, their business ideas. for in the future as well. So these programs are good to continue. But also in terms of trends and thing that had to be changed is first of all the reskilling. So the war has forced men forced women to adapt quickly and so acquire these new skills. For example, there is a good project by the Swedish organization Beredskapslyftet and Scania, who help to reskill women for the non-traditional domains, like becoming, for example, the truck drivers. And another example is the drone production. So Ukrainian women have entered this sector, and drones are essential for the defense and for the victory. And there are this discussions in Ukraine that it should become the drone valley. And so all this technology, this meal tech startups are very important. And a role of women in this should be encouraged further. So it's visible that there are different initiatives where women are already involved, and there are also organizations that help to organize the production or development of drones on different scales. It can be also at home when you are just making it from the parts, and you know how to do that through their videos that are being shared with you. But now experts are telling that since due to the circumstances, Ukraine will need to defend itself further, and therefore we will need more people in meal tech, and that's why it is good to encourage women to become also involved in this sphere, and to encourage the society to be friendly and inclusive for having women in their leading roles in this sphere. So given all this, it is visible that women are essential to the economy and to the also everyday life, because they are also in charge of children and of the routines that needs to be maintained. They are crucial for the future of democracy, and it is important to support all those projects where whether it is the reskilling or NGOs or mental rehabilitation or young youth leadership programs, that would be crucial for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this, Alina, and how you walked us through the situation you have now, and how women has taken on new roles, and how, as you said, essential it is that women have all these different kind of roles to make everything work in this very difficult situation we're in now. Thank you so much. We will for sure come back to more input on the situation you have in Ukraine. Now I would like to warmly welcome Rosanna Torstensson, and who will also be assisted by Anna Aghadjanian to talk about, give us information of this question. How is civil society in Armenia working to promote women's political representation and address the broader gender equality issues across all levels? Warmly welcome to give us more information about this.
It's an honor to be part of today's important discussion, and I am grateful for this opportunity to present Winnet Armenia and speak today about the crucial role of women in building democracy, specifically with the context of Armenia and the border Eastern Partnership region. We are privileged to present the experience of our organization, which has been actively engaged in promoting democratic values, gender equality in the women's political presentation. My colleague Anna will make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this is again an honor for us to be part of this today's meeting. And in Armenia, actually, civil society plays an important role in advocating for gender equality and ensuring that women's voices are not only heard, but are also integrated into decision-making processes at all levels. Over the years, our organization has worked tirelessly to empower women and promote their active participation in economy and politics, where they have historically been underrepresented. Founded with the concept of support cycles of women in the region, which is the best Swedish model, we as the Winnet Armenia organization, having members Winnet centers across the country, has been in the forefront of empowering women and fostering local and regional development, first in the Sunnic region of Armenia and then expanded to other regions. We have worked hard to strengthen the position of women in their communities and ensure that they have a voice in shaping the future of their communities. Since the establishment of our first network in Sunnic in 2010, we have seen the power of collaboration and unity in advocating for women's rights and gender equality. And our commitment to empowering women has led us to become the first non-EU member of the European Association of Women Resource Centers, mainly known as Winnet Europe in 2014. Today, we are the umbrella organization that unites 9 women resource centers across 5 regions of Armenia, and we are working to enhance women's political, social, and economic participation in all levels. Over the years, we have developed a range of initiatives focused on women economic empowerment and political empowerment, political activism, and our work emphasized the importance of creating platforms where women can collectively advocate for change. With a special focus on marginalized women, including those from rural areas, we have strived to build inclusive spaces that support their leadership and political participation. A central aspect of our work is the promotion of gender equality, and we have dedicated efforts to mainstream the gender dimension in the use of national and regional resources. Our programs aim to increase female participation in labor force, address social inequalities, and encourage women's active roles in decision-making processes. In particular, we have been focused on creating sustainable economic opportunities for women, especially living in remote areas. And this work has led to the establishment of many new jobs, social enterprises, and social businesses, all aimed at fostering economic independence for women. In addition to our ongoing efforts, we deeply committed to responding also to global and humanitarian crises. In times of crisis, we provide urgent humanitarian aid as well as long-term rehabilitation assistance to forcibly displaced and crisis-affected women and families facing difficult circumstances. We provided both humanitarian and rehabilitation support to women to regain their strength, rebuild their lives, and continue their active roles in their communities. Our work at Winnet Armenia underscores the fact that women's economic empowerment is a cornerstone for advancing gender equality and social inclusions. By addressing gender inequalities and creating opportunities for women to participate in the economy and politics, we are continuing to the strengthening of Armenia's democracy in the broader region. Women in Armenia have long faced challenges in accessing business decision-making positions due to traditional gender roles, cultural stereotypes, and the lack of institutional support. However, Armenia's civil society, including our organization, has made significant strides in addressing these barriers. We have focused on advocating for policies that support women's political empowerment. We conducted workshops and training programs to build leadership skills and collaborating with local and international partners to push for systematic changes that foster gender equality. Our work is grounded in the belief that gender equality is not just a women issue, but a democratic one. Women's political representation strengthens democracy, ensures more inclusive policies, and fosters social and economic development. In Armenia, civil society organizations have been instrumental in advocating for legal reforms, such as the introduction of gender quotas in the elections, which have contributed to a noticeable increase in women's representation in parliament and local councils. Moreover, we have been seeing firsthand the power of grassroots movements led by women who are demanding change. These movements have brought attention to critical issues such as violence against women and the need for economic independence. By amplifying these voices, we are not only addressing the immediate challenges faced by women, but are also laying the foundation for a more inclusive and democratic future for all. However, challenges remain. Despite progress, women's political representation in Armenia is still limited, and gender inequality continues to persist in many sectors. This is where the continued support of civil society is vital. Our role is advocating for policy changes, raising awareness about gender issues, and ensuring that women have the necessary tools and platforms to succeed in politics is more important than ever. As we move forward, it is crucial that civil society, in collaboration with governmental bodies, international organizations, and women leaders, continues to champion gender equality at all levels. By doing so, we will create a more inclusive political environment where women can fully participate in shaping the future of Armenia and the broader Eastern Partnership region. With this in mind, Winnet Armenia, in collaboration with its counterpart Winnet Sweden, is currently working to establish a women's lobby platform in Armenia. This initiative seeks to advocate for women's issues, raise awareness, and influence policies and strategies at all levels, and to elevate and empower women across the country, ensure that they receive the necessary support to exercise their political, economic, and social cultural rights. The platform is inspired by the Swedish women lobby model, and we are going to adapt it to suit Armenia's unique context and laying the foundation for significant societal change. In conclusion, the involvement of women in political process is not only a matter of justice, but a cornerstone of thriving democracy. Armenian civil society had made significant strides, but there is still much work to be done. The collective efforts of organizations like our organization and our network partners are vital in shaping a future where women have equal opportunities to lead, innovate, and contribute to the development of their communities and their countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this, Rosanna and Anna. Very interesting how you have been working with empowerment of women. And you are so right when talking about it. This is not only a women's issue; it's a democratic issue. So I think we will also come back to that. Now I would like to give the floor to Patrik Svensson. Patrik, how would you say that the experience we have in Sweden when it comes to gender equality, how could that sort of strengthen the women participation in Armenia's democratic development? Thank you so much for answering this question, and welcome, Patrik.
Thank you so much, Anna, and good morning or good afternoon to all. First, let me say a word of thanks to the organizers of this conference and to fellow participants and listeners for tuning in, to Britt-Marie and ForumCiv. It's a pleasure to represent the embassy in this conference, and until now it's been so extremely inspiring also to listen to all the colleagues who have spoken. And let me also first at the outset echo what my dear colleague Anna in Stockholm also said before. Yes, Armenian women are strong. They are very, very strong. And for me, it has always been a privilege and a pleasure to meet such strong Armenian women in Yerevan, but not the least in all the marses that I have visited through my years here in Armenia. And we have several of them here, not the least our dear colleagues in Goris present in this conference. So yeah, Sweden's partnership with Armenia, I hope, can hopefully be an inspiring example of how countries can work together to advance gender equality and democratic development. And let me first say also that, of course, we do recognize Armenia's progress in recent years, especially following the Velvet Revolution, which of course has opened up new opportunities for democratic reform and inclusion of women in decision-making processes. And I think in terms of progress, I also believe it's essential to highlight Armenia's improvement in the Global Gender Gap Index report from the last year, for example, where Armenia now ranks 61st out of 146 countries and third in the region of Eurasia and Central Asia, marking an improvement of 28 points. I think that's a significant step forward. And specifically, I would also like to highlight in the category of economic participation and opportunity, Armenia has improved its rank significantly. For example, also Armenia ranked first in the area of professional and technical workers, not the least due to the robust IT industry we have here in Armenia, where I think in the report it showcased a 43% female participation rate. Now, I think that it's even higher in 2024. I think it's even a majority women participation rate there now. All right, let's get over to Sweden and Sweden in Armenia a little bit. As I said, Sweden, we have been very proud to support Armenia in the journey through a variety of capacity building initiatives. I would say that we have worked and we always continue to work alongside Armenian institutions, civil society organizations, and women's groups, and to strengthen not the least the legislative and policy frameworks that support gender equality. And again, we have fantastic partners to work with, a multitude of fantastic partners. A key focus of Sweden's support in Armenia has naturally been on women's political participation. For example, Sweden supports improved political participation of women through our UND-implemented Modern Parliament for Modern Armenia project, assisting not only MPs but also the parliament's institutional capacity. And my dear colleague Anna already mentioned the very increased female MP rate that Parliament now has, which is a significant step forward. One area where we have seen also tangible process is in gender responsive governance, I would say. Sweden has also supported Armenia's efforts to integrate the gender perspective into policy making and budgeting. And by working with Armenian partners to build capacity for gender analysis and the collection of sex aggregated data, we have helped ensure also, I believe, to some extent, that government policies also reflect the needs and priorities of women and men. And here I would also like to say that we always, the way we work here through the embassy, we always try to find allies and new allies in parliament, in government and authorities, and not the least male allies who can politically, so to speak, open doors and be role models, male role models for gender equality in the best possible sense. I think this is something which always needs a focus as well. So let me also say that we have, together with another example of how we work and continue to try to work, is that we have also hosted what we have termed an International Women's Leadership Club meeting together with the National Democratic Institute, where we have tried to provide a platform for a policy dialogue between women MPs and women representatives of civil society from all marses of Armenia. This event, for example, I believe contributed to fostering dialogue on critical policy directions related to women's rights, political representation and participation, as well as socioeconomic empowerment to bridge the gap between civil society and political decision makers. Additionally, we also work to tackle the domestic violence issue in Armenia through our distinguished partner, the Women's Resource Center. This is another fantastic partner that we have, and through them they assist a number of other organizations through a sub-granting scheme that the WRC has, and through it we have partners like the Sexual Assault Crisis Center and others, and we reach about 12 dozen other women's organizations. Another example how we work, we try to work with like-minded member state colleagues and embassies here. For example, on March 7th, I hosted a breakfast meeting for EU ambassadors and the Council of Europe together as like-minded, share thoughts and experiences on how we can continue to work together and find most effective ways to support Armenia in its efforts to advocate also for the eradication of domestic violence, where we also highlight and try to encourage the further process of getting to ratification of the Istanbul Convention. That's another one that we also focus on. And when it comes to women's economic empowerment, it is, of course, not just a matter of fairness, but the key to achieving gender equality, peace, and numerous development goals. Through supporting another program called the Reconomy Program, which is an inclusive and green economic development program, we enable women and youth to benefit from economic opportunities by increasing their economic income and taking up decent and green jobs. When it comes to the women, peace and security area, we support Armenia both regionally through Kvinna till Kvinna, but also bilaterally through our partners at the WRC. Now, following the attack on Nagorno-Karabakh in September 2023, Sweden also decided very fast to allocate funds to help refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh for projects in the humanitarian development nexus, and not the least to support female refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh and their economic integration in the society here in Armenia. I would also like to stress that a gender perspective and, of course, a gender equality focus are mainstream more or less in everything that we do, in all interventions that Sweden supports, not the least in the media, climate, and the environmental waste management areas, etc., etc. So I'm gonna get to my conclusion here, just to say that for us, our experience in advancing gender equality has shown us that while progress to some extent may be slow, or others have expectations that it should be and could have been even faster, we do see very much of progress, I would say, and it is always possible when we work together with dedication and determination, with like-minded and with new allies. Armenia has made significant strides in empowering women and advancing democratic governance, but we know, of course, there is much more to be done. And Sweden will continue to be a proud partner in this journey forward. We are committed to continuing our support for Armenia's efforts to build a more just, inclusive, gender equal, and democratic society. So for now, thank you so much for your attention, and back to you, Anna. Thanks.
Thank you so much for this, Patrik. It was very, very interesting to hear how Sweden can be a part of development in this as well, in this way. And as you say, of course, in very, very close collaboration with different organizations, both when it comes to domestic violence and also this platform, and also the economic initiatives. And also really appreciate that you also mentioned this with working with role models, how important that is to provide change. And I'm sure we will come back to some of the things you said as well. But now I'd like to invite Lena Karlsson to talk more about the EU perspective of this. So how can the EU effectively integrate gender equality into democratic processes in Armenia and Ukraine? And what kind of lessons learned have you had here? So please enlighten us in this area, Lena.
Thank you so much, and I'm pleased to be here in this very important panel and discussions. So of course, what was said previously, that gender equality and diversity more broadly is a prerequisite for democracy and sustainable development. And it's really important to look at in all the diversity, as was mentioned, also women with disabilities, women living in the rural area, etc., so that all voices are heard and able to contribute to society. And we also discussed the importance of having more women in institutions, in parliaments, in governance, but also we need to, as the previous speaker was said, address these structures, these institutions, so that they are gender responsive, and address all those cultural and structural norms that perpetuate gender biases. It could be unconscious biases and stereotypes that we need to address, and we need to create an environment by working with women and men so that gender and diversity is celebrated. And one of the hindering factors, I think also someone mentioned it, is the unequal caring of care work. So also to promote family friendly policies, flexible working environments, parental leave policies is another important step for promoting gender equality within institutions and decision making. And what we also have witnessed, not only in the region but globally, is the increasing harassment and violence against female politicians. And that has also become a barrier. We saw it very much in Moldova in the recent elections, for example. So we also need to address that, have legal framework in place, and also promote that culture, both within institutions and within society as such, to address like the hate crimes and violence online, etc. And so what is the EU doing? So all these things we try to address, and democratic institutions, accountability, rule of law and human rights is also crucial for the European Commission and the European Union, both within the EU as such, but also through our external actions that we support. And for the Eastern Partnership, we have a joint staff working document that promotes values and policies, and one of those priorities is recovery resilience, is resilient, gender equal, fair and inclusive society where democracy is very crucial. And one of our partners that we work with is the Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, which promote parliamentary oversight, foster political pluralism and address digital challenges to democratic processes. And for the Eastern Partnership, we have a specific program on that. And one of the objectives is advancing political participation of women, youth, and persons with disability in national parliaments and political parties to promote political pluralism. And there we are working with the parliaments to really look at what are the barriers for women here and for persons with disability, and how can they be addressed and overcome. And we're also working with other partners, and for example the Council of Europe, we're implementing a good governance program. Priority here is justice for women, especially women who are targeted of gender-based violence. And we're also supporting the government to implement the Istanbul Convention. And Christina was also mentioning the EIP, Eastern Partnership Working Group for Gender Equality, and the focus for the coming year is actually women's access to justice. We also have the Gender Action Plan 3, which was also been mentioned, which guide us on how to promote gender equality. And democracy and human rights is of course a key factor in this plan. And it also has specific target to increase the level of women in participation, representation and leadership in governments. And we have a target there that 85% of all our external action should either target gender equality or should mainstream gender equality. So gender mainstreaming in everything we do is of course very important, to do it in a more transformative and intersectional ways. And each country, both in the EIP and beyond, also have country level implementation plans where they make priorities on how to implement the gender action plan. And governance is key in many of those plans. I also mentioned stereotypes, and we also have a program in the Eastern Partnership, including Armenia and Ukraine, of course, on how to address gender stereotypes and gender-based violence implemented by UN Women and UNFPA, where we work with media, social media campaigns. We have small grants for civil society who wants to address gender biases and stereotypes. And we also have so-called father school, where we work with men or becoming men on issues such as sharing of care work, child development, domestic violence, etc. So working with men is of course crucial for gender equality. We also have a gender help desk that provides demand-driven support to the government in how to gender mainstream law, policies, capacity building of gender focal points in the government. And they also have a strong focus on supporting the governments when it comes to gender budgeting and responsive gender governance. And so we also have a number of other programs that I will not go into, but also just mention that for Armenia and Ukraine specifically, for Armenia, we are now developing a new joint the priority for EU and Armenia cooperation for the coming years. And there also gender equality and will be a focus, and also the implementation of the Armenian gender equality strategy. And also in the resilience and growth plan, we are also trying to have a stronger focus on gender equality. But there is a long way to go when we talk about all those big financial investments in all countries. It needs to be stronger on gender equality. And for Ukraine, it's of course the enlargement process that are very key. And in the 2024 enlargement report, also the barriers and the importance of strengthening support to have more women in decision making in politics has been strengthened. But it's also, the enlargement report also really highlight all the achievement that has been done. The adoption of the Istanbul Convention, and also the recent Code on Administrative Offensive that has just been approved to really support the implementation of the convention. And in Ukraine, we also have the Ukraine facility and the plan for recovery and reconstruction, which has a focus on gender equality, but we're working also to strengthen it to be more gender equal. So these were just some of the examples, but looking forward also to more discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this, Lena. Very interesting, both that you sort of departed from the unequal division of care work, and also the different sort of more actions that you are taking on this, and the digital challenges, and also stereotypes and so on. So, and also more concrete things that you've been doing in both these countries. So thank you so much, Lena. And I will now come back to you, Christina, to talk a bit. Well, now we have been listening to very interesting and important information about the situations in Ukraine and Armenia. So my question to you now, as an ambassador of the Eastern Partnership region, what would you say would be some of the key actions that EU and Sweden could take to support the gender equality in the democratic development in these two countries?
Well, thank you very much, Anna, and thank you to all the speakers. I mean, I'm humbled by all the work being done by all the actors in these two countries and the entire region. And of course, I'm humbled by both the progress and challenges. I mean, Armenia with the refugee crisis, and I especially noted what Anna said about the importance of empowering women also at a local level. I was happy to hear Patrik refer to programs and initiatives reaching the entire country. And of course, Alina, I mean, representing a country during a full-scale invasion from Russia. I mean, you're a country at war, and still you have all these initiatives, and it is our responsibility, the entire democratic world, to support you on all levels. And it is impressive that you are also bringing gender equality and retraining, as you referred to, into all these efforts. I was talking about the panel that we had in Vienna at the Civil Society Forum, and there were a couple of points that I will try to take further in the group of Eastern Partnership ambassadors, and also to see where we can be maybe even more efficient. I was talking about bringing it to the political level. That's a lot of bureaucracy, but I think it will be important. We have also been talking about statistics. I mean, we do need statistics in our communication. We need to show the benefits and the need and importance to mainstream gender, the need to mainstream gender in order to reach the European values and the goals that we want to see for our entire European and Eastern Partnership region. And then at the panel, there was also an interesting presentation by the UN Women referring specifically to attitudes with young people. They had done a survey and they were highlighting attitudes of young men. We constantly speak within the Eastern Partnership Ambassadors Group of the need of working with young people. And I think this would be a very good thing to combine the two, youth and gender, because this is very much needed. And I also noted that many of you referred to this. And then we had, of course, also the Istanbul Convention up for discussion. Sweden joined 10 years ago. Last year, during the Swedish EU presidency, the European Union finally could exceed the Istanbul Convention. I think the negotiations went on for 7 years, but this provides, the Istanbul Convention provides with the most important legal and political instruments that we have with combating men's violence against women. And what is also, I think, and here I know that there are experts on the panel who know this better than me, but I would assume that the Istanbul Convention and the review that is made of every country is giving, the tools to have an action plan and for the way forward. I know that Sweden, during its review of the state of this policy, got some 40 recommendations that we are currently working with. It was interesting to me to see that many of the recommendations to Sweden referred specifically to the policy for minorities and women in vulnerable groups, disabled women. There were others also referring to these groups here. And also there were recommendations when it comes to the investigation of rape cases. So this is what I wanted to say with this example is that the Istanbul Conventions is a very hands-on document, and it gives you the tools. And I do hope that we will see progress also in other countries in the region, because when joining, we can also compare our challenges, the statistics, and the way forward and the good examples in a much more efficient way. So, working with young people, I would definitely try to introduce this. Lena mentioned so many good examples, and what I can say as a conclusion is that this is again, proof of the EU doing a lot of good things in cooperation between EU institutions, member states, and partner countries, and being very poor at communicating what we are actually doing. At every Eastern Partnership meeting that I'm attending, we bring up the need for communicating on the initiatives on the ground in the countries with the member states, and we simply never get there. But never give up. We will continue to work with communication because this is very much needed. So I'm sure others would also like to come in, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Very important. This will work with young people, of course, and then also with this, with what you said the last time, never give up. We are working with issues that will take a long time to change, and we really, really need to support each other and communicate, as you also said, to have dialogue about these things to support each other. Now, I also, as you have seen, those of you watching this, it is possible for you to write questions in the chat function, and to any of the participants here. And I do not see any questions at the moment. And there I also, that's why I'm also opening up for those of you participating now in the panel. If you have any comments or questions to each other on these very interesting things that has been brought up. And I think the easiest way is just to raise your hand or just speak right out from the panel if you want to add on anything or have a question to one of your fellow participants here. Yes, please, Anna, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. As expected, I learned a lot. I took like 3 million notes. Thank you very much to all of you. And special thanks to everybody representing the civil society, because you are the ones working on the ground, both in Armenia and Ukraine and everywhere in the Eastern Partnership. What we are doing is our job. What you are doing is your vocation. So thank you very much again. I wanted to take a few points, particularly to echo where Christina ended, because this is a problem that we have been discussing very often with a lot of colleagues in the EU, in the member states, in Armenia, and here at the embassy. How to make the work that is being done, huge work, better seen and better understood, especially, as I really hate this word, but at the grassroots level. And this is something that I think this was one of the problems. I'm not an expert, but this is one of the problems we had in Moldova. That you have a feeling that everybody understands the benefits and the work that's being done. Turns out, no, they don't. This is probably where really civil society and international bodies and government agencies have to seriously sit down and work together to understand how to make my neighbor know what projects, programs exist, how they can benefit, and we should probably go beyond press releases or something like that, have more simplified explanations of things like mainstreaming the gender perspective into the democratization processes and that sort of words that we are so used to operating with. But frankly, that makes no sense if you don't know what this is all about. I don't have an answer. I have a question, and I know nobody has the answer to that, but maybe it's a good idea to have a little seminar, including all the agency, all the actors involved, just to sit down and brainstorm and how can we make the work seen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this, Anna. We have a question in the chat as well before I post that one. Anyone want to comment on what we just heard, even though it's a difficult one and something we need to sort of move forward, but perhaps someone wants to comment on it? Yes, Christina,
Yes,
please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how to raise my hand.
Okay, so just we do it like this now. So please, Christina first and then Lena.
I will be very short, Anna. I agree with everything you said, and I think we definitely need to move from press releases, obviously not reaching anyone. I wanted also to add that it was pretty clear at the Civil Society Forum in Vienna. I keep coming back to that because I thought it was very inspiring, but it also brought up a lot of questions. I mean, the Eastern Partnership celebrates its 15th anniversary this year, and the partnership at the political level is up in the air. We know that. Challenged, we are struggling to find good initiatives to bring the political level forward. But we are always referring to the civil society component as the backbone of this regional cooperation. But we also, at the forum, hear voices calling for change also within the civil society component. I think that is obvious and it's natural because why wouldn't there need to be change also in the civil society component? 15 years, I mean, look at the region compared to what we had 15 years ago. So I would welcome any initiative to have a constructive discussion also in the civil society components, of course, with the civil society organizations of the 6 countries in the driving seat. But you're perfectly right that we need that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. And Lena, you also wanted to comment?
Yes, thank you so much. And I couldn't agree more when it comes to communication and press releases, a few tweets. We write on our intranet, but we don't reach out enough. And I think one positive example is we have something we call the Young EU Ambassadors, and they go out in the rural areas. They talk with people, they explain what we are doing, they organize discussions. And I think this really reaching out, not only through social media, but reaching out to the communities in the rural areas, having these discussions is key, combined with, of course, more reaching out through social media, having videos that explain in a simple way, because I mean the disinformation that we see now is enormous, and we are also witnessing despite all the progress, a global backlash towards gender equality when it comes to hate crime, disinformation, etc. And that's something we also, the small civil society organizations that we support, we had a meeting in Moldova with those small CBOs, and they were also telling us how extremely difficult it is at the moment to talk about gender equality. And they are also working with local change makers, they're working with faith-based leaders and those organizations to really challenge perspective. And once you get these local leaders with you talking about gender equality and promoting these values, you can really change the communities. I think both this sort of bottom-up support and working with civil society and more broader campaign. And I also think we need to talk about civil society as such, because we have really strong organizations that promote gender equality, human rights, but we also have those gongos, now talking about Azerbaijan, for example, who are just promoting the values of the government, and we see them growing inside Belarus also. So we need to also make sure that we target and support the right civil society organizations. And I forgot to say that with the gender help desk that we have, we are also doing a mapping of civil society in the Eastern Partnership, and we are looking at those really small organizations that support women's rights and gender equality, and we will then start on a capacity building program to see, based on the needs, what more can we do to really strengthen the small and rural civil society organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lena, and I'm very happy to hear that we already have a concrete suggestion for a follow-up after this webinar. Now we have a question from a listener, and that is, what is the role of tradition in Armenian society and how to work with it to raise women's voices and strengthen participation? And this is perhaps something for Rosanna, Anna, if you want to comment on it, and also Anna. I'm not sure who would like to start.
Yeah, maybe we can start. Yes, as I mentioned in our presentation, the gender stereotypes and traditional norms is hindering actually the work that we are doing towards gender equality, especially working in the regions. As I mentioned, we are more concentrate our efforts in the regions of Armenia. We in every day our operation facing the challenges that the traditional barriers have, and so we are trying to address these challenges through more about awareness raising and the non-formal education, especially targeting younger generations, so that they can really be information spread among their age ranks. And so we are continuous in our efforts to address and break the barriers that the society, especially more in stereotypical mindset, to see the gender equality, how it has influenced development and democracy, starting from the local level, and how it can really be beneficial for the whole community, for the whole society, being having more equal and inclusive policies in place, and how it can be integrated in the national strategies and policies.
Thank you so much. And Anna, as the ambassador of Armenia, would you have anything to add to this and also to comment on this question?
Yes, I think I tried to say a few words about it in my sort of presentation, but here I want to pick up on what Patrik said about the role of the men in this. And working with male allies is a very important thing. We can go around telling women that they should be empowered till the cows come home, but it has to be a joint societal effort. And in Armenia, you see all kinds of extremes, from men who think that the woman belongs in a Kinderküche situation and should never be out of the kitchen. Doesn't work that much, really, that often. To the other extreme, where they think that women have to take care of everything, including the governing of the country. That's a bit less probably. So it has to be a more of a holistic approach at the societal level. Yes, we all say gender stereotypes, they are same in every society, let's be honest about it. It is more about, yes, here I'm going to agree with Anna and Rosanna that it's about working towards awareness raising of young generation, not so much awareness raising as informing about opportunities, and yes, encouraging formal education, higher education, which is sometimes not easily accessible in the rural areas. And role models are something that probably will move this forward. And I can see that happening also through the younger generation these days. So I'm a bit more optimistic.
Thank you so much. And always, as you talk now about the holistic perspective of this, it's always when you talk about power, right? And for women to be empowered, men also need to leave power in some places. That's why also we need to have this holistic perspective, as you say, Anna. Thank you very much for this. I don't see any other questions now for those listening, but so I give the opportunity again to the panelists. If you have anything you want to comment on that a fellow participant said, or something you want to add on. Yes, Patrik, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. No, I just want to echo what our dear colleague said before. Also, I agree, of course, with everything that was said. With Anna, I agree almost with everything, anytime, whatever you say. Of course, it's a given. Yeah, no, kidding. But I mean, yes, focusing on the ground, extremely important. Focusing on the rural areas, focusing on the youth. Absolutely correct approach. We try to do as much as we can, but we have to find others as well, other allies who will also work more in the rural areas, other like-minded member state countries, international actors, etc., etc. And we need to coordinate more, of course, among the donor community as well, to reach out in a better way. I mean, we have to ensure that we don't get this Yerevan capital-centered approach, which is quite easy to get. This is a country of many Marses and many regions, so we need to really go out there as much as we can. And within the EU Heads of Mission Collective here, we try to have more and more of these field visits, coordinated field visits to regions, where we explain we try to explain more about what we collectively do. We try to apply a Team Europe approach, a Team Europe initiative approach. We try to find more opportunities for a Team Europe initiative approach with like-minded and so on and so forth. Yeah, we have many ideas also within the EU collective here. Some of them are dependent also upon finding funding opportunities from Brussels and from capitals, but that's work to be done from our sides to advocate for more opportunities to be able to reach out more. Maybe something that Lena said I wanted maybe to pick up also a little bit on. You also highlighted the importance of promoting family policies, more gender equal family policies. One thing that has heartened me and my heart since I have been here in Armenia is that for the first time there's, for example, now a possibility for fathers to go on paternity leave in Armenia. It's a very significant, symbolic, but very important step forward. We're not talking about millions of days, but at least there is that opportunity now. And I haven't seen any statistics yet because it's very, very new, but I think that's one small step also forward in creating better opportunities between males and females, between mothers and fathers when it comes to families and so on and so forth. So just wanted to highlight that symbolic and important step as well. I stop there. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Patrik, and we really need to make those small steps visible because all long journeys starts with 1 or 2 steps, right? Otherwise you cannot move forward. So very good to have that as well. So we have time if there would be anyone else from the panel that wants to say something. Alina, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the very interesting discussion. Really, so many things that I have noted for myself, and I wanted to echo and follow up on their issue of the youth and leadership programs of the tool that can really increase the gender equality. And just sharing the example that we've done at Nordic Ukraine Forum, it's a smaller type of projects, but it includes young Ukrainians who have fled from Ukraine since the invasion, and they're based now in the Nordic countries. So together with our partners, we've gathered them together to talk about their experience and to show them examples of their how to be an active citizen and how to also think they can help Ukraine. But I understand that is a very limited projects like this, and basically youth, they are coming from different regions. They have different role models, and bringing them together is a very efficient way to share values, to see the new opportunities, and to also motivate them to be active and to support equality in this regards. So it's just a reflection and a open question if you think that there should be any project that deal with this young Armenians, young Ukrainians who could either come to Sweden for the exchange of their experience, or some local programs that can be done in Ukraine or in Armenia.
Great, thank you so much for that input, Alina. And here we had another concrete suggestion as an output and outcome of this very important webinar. Thank you so much. And we will for sure take notes of these concrete suggestions that have come during this time to see how we can have further actions on them. All right, everyone, we are now
sorry, Britt-Marie is trying to say something. Britt-Marie has been trying to get you on the chat for a while now.
I am going to give her the word now. So that's she's coming into the session right now. So by this now we are closing up, and by that I would like to give the word to Britt-Marie Söderberg Torstensson, who is the president of Winnet Sweden. So please, Britt-Marie, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this interesting discussion. And it's really important that we highlight these issues, that you have women in politics at all levels, because if you don't have it, you will never have a two-eyed, so to speak, democracy development, which means that gender equality between women and men is important, so important. And what I would like to add on this, that when it comes to Winnet, Sweden, which means Women in Network, is also that we have this organization of women resource centers, focusing on labor market issues, but also entrepreneurship, innovation, and strategic cross-border cooperation, and with focus on rural areas, which means that it's a hub for women to go together to discuss the most important part of their life and in the society, to be active in development of the local society and also on a regional level, but also to have an impact on policy and action, and also, of course, to secure gender mainstreaming in the society. Also on a European level, which is important, and also to have this women's movement and organization strategically cooperating with each other when it comes to these issues. And then politics is important, action plan is important, financing is important, and the power to define the future. Which means that you need to have an individual focus, but you need also to see how you can organize to do in the local area, in the regional area, at the national level and European level. What I mean is that we need to cooperate together at all levels with politicians, with the business, with researchers, with other NGOs in different thematic fields. And when it comes to these fields, we will never have any success if you don't work with politicians and decision makers. You need to be in close cooperation, which means that the Women Resource Center often have cooperation with the researchers to combine theory and practice, for having facts and statistics. That is key, as you have said, in all your speech, which means that you also need to support women, but also support women to be their own, to use the society's support to become an entrepreneur or come to the labor market, get education. But mostly you have women, having highly educated women. But what I mean, without women in politics, we can't go on. The women's movement need women in politics and vice versa. And I can also say that without men supporting us in Sweden, we should never have had women resource centers and also the finance for women resource centers. So male supporters is very, very important, which means that you need to go together with network and in partnership to really secure that you will have a democracy in the future in ERP countries, but also in Europe. And my reflection is that we can go on with that now after this seminar. And we are planning for the next seminar is about peace and security and women's participation to negotiate for peace and security. That is still will be at the round table. And about and also for violence against women. I can also say that, remind that the next year is the celebration of the 30 year of Beijing report at the CSV conference in United Nations. And it will be interesting to follow up what have happened, the evaluation, what have happened about what you stated in that report, what should be done, that women are a part in the society's development, which comes to also the Women Convention, which means that all countries have undersigned as a driving force for gender equality and women's participation in the society. We do know that you need to look at what we have undersigned and do on all levels in the society, which goes also for ERP. And I do know that Armenia and Ukraine work very hard on this. So thank you once again for all of you for contributing to this seminar result, and also so the next step can be finalized under 2025, that we are really focusing on these important issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this, Britt-Marie, and thank you all for participating in this very important webinar. We have both been listening to great input. All of us have learned more things, and we have also got some concrete next actions for us. And we also have a new webinar to look forward to. So thank you everyone for participating, and thank you all for listening. And with that, I close this webinar and say bye-bye.